Well, our first stop today is at the home of Marvin and Barbara Payton. Marvin and Barbara, thank you for letting us come and see your garden.
Very welcome.
Well, the first thing that I noticed when we come into your backyard that you all have basically combined two hobbies, water gardening and garden railroading, haven't you?
Yes.
So, now your garden railroad here is just wonderful. It makes me feel like a kid when I come back here. But how long have you been working on this setup?
We started in 95.
Uh-huh.
We dug the pond in 95, and we've been building on it ever since.
Okay, so you basically started with your pond and then
With the
expanded
pond.
from there.
Then we put that one track around, then I put a second track, and then I decided I had to have a third track.
Okay. Now, the setup that you have here, this is G scale, is that correct?
It's G scale.
Okay. And what setup do you have?
I have the LGB,
Uh-huh.
and I got a Wild Wild West one over there,
Uh-huh.
and then we got a turn of the century train.
Okay. So you're basically dealing with a U.S. type
US,
layout
the
here.
US.
Okay. Well, let's take a look at this. You've got so many great features here. And one of the things I noticed, you have put your railroad up on a ledge here. Is it just easier to access that way?
Well, that's on water problems too. If
Uh-huh.
it comes a big rain, this takes care of it.
That's great. That's a good idea. The other thing that I also notice is that you've got your tracks here. Now, what are these just setting on gravel? Do you have a foundation underneath these?
No, I've got a ground fabric.
Mm-hmm.
I just put down ground fabric and then put that on top of it.
Okay. And then the supports for this track are actually, you've got the
I've
wood.
got some about 1 by 12s I
Uh-huh.
drove down
Okay.
into the
And these they look like they're about every
12 inches long.
Okay, 12 inches. So that's actually what the track is sitting on. It keeps it pretty stable
That
that way.
stables are.
Good. And then you've got the pea gravel underneath, and you really can't tell that the tracks are sitting on those supports. It looks very, very nice. Now, I really like this feature that you have here with your waterfall. Maybe you could explain how that's set up.
When we built the waterfall, we got that rock. That's one rock up there and just
Uh-huh.
some little ones up on top of it. And I set it out wide enough so I could run a train under it. And then I put a piece of plexiglass up there to help keep the water off the track.
Okay, so that basically helps keep the track dry, because if the track is
Yes.
wet, it won't run very well.
It won't run so good.
Okay. And I also like all your trees here. This is a great size. It really
Yes,
blends
it's
in.
a perfect size for this. And they're supposed to stay small. They're dwarf Japanese maple.
So that's a good choice. And your backyard is really pretty shady here. So those are a good plant choice
Yes.
for this area. Now, something that I also notice about the garden railroads is that the trains are really nice, but you also have a lot of extras kind of around
Yeah.
on here.
We're always on the lookout for something to go in our train. Sometimes we'll get stuff at the flea market, and then last summer we went to a train convention and we came back with lots of animals and neat little things to go with our circus.
Great. So I wanted to come over here and check out this circus. And your tent here, did you find this somewhere?
We built that. We made it. We
That's
couldn't
too
find
fun.
one, so we just made it. Sometimes you just have to improvise, and because you can't find everything. The G scale, they've got everything under the sun that you can buy, but HO scale. But in the G scale, they don't make as much, but they're making more all the time.
Great. Well, this is really wonderful. Now, do you leave the trains and everything out? You take those all in during the winter, is that correct?
During the winter, yes.
Okay. And the other thing that I noticed that you had, and actually it's around here, we always find it hard to clean our track, but you actually have an interesting tool to do that with. I've never seen this before.
This is a track cleaning engine.
Oh,
And
wow.
it's made with cleaning pads right here. And you just run this out on the track and run it around a couple of times, and it takes the stuff off the track that keeps the trains from running good.
Now that's a really handy piece of equipment.
Real handy if you've ever got down and cleaned on track.
That's good. And this is another really handy piece of equipment right here. Now what does this thing do?
That's what we use to put the box cars and things like that on the track.
Uh-huh.
You lay it down on here like that. Run your car on here, and this lines the wheels right up, and it just is on the track right then.
Oh, that's great. We have a lot of problem getting ours lined up. We may have to get one of these.
It's well worth the money.
So, well, can we see your trains run? This is just really
Okay.
neat. Well, Marvin and Barbara, we really appreciate you letting us come back and see your layout. This is really nice. You've done a lot of great work here. Thanks.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, our second stop today is in Jenks at the home of Ron and Jenny Salich. And Ron and Jenny, thank you so much for letting us see your train setup.
You're
today.
welcome. Glad you can come by.
So, now, you have a wonderful setup. You've basically taken the back edge of your yard and put in a train system here.
I made it L-shaped. It runs about 40 feet down here and then about 20 feet down this way.
Okay. Now, how long have you been working with this system?
Well, here are just about 4 years.
Uh-huh.
I've been with the G-scale trains for about 10 years.
Okay. So how did you get started on this?
Well, I had trains as a little kid with my dad,
Uh-huh.
and I had HO, and we had some O-scale at Lionel stuff. And then as I got bigger, I got into bigger trains, and I got a Christmas set was my first set,
Uh-huh.
and put it around the tree. And then as I had more track, I got more cars, I needed more engines, and I needed more track, and then I needed more transformers, and I needed more engines and more cars. I had to have more track, and it just kept growing until it got to this.
So you moved
So
outside.
yeah. When we first met, I had a bedroom full of trains,
Oh, wow.
and consequently I got moved outside after we got married.
Well, that's good. Now, you have some wonderful features here. And the first one that I noticed as we came in, this trestle is gorgeous. I wanted all the viewers to see this.
Thanks. That took me about 2 months to build, and it's all handmade, hand cut. It runs over Sharon Dale's Pass, and Sharon is a friend of Jenny's who recommended I build a trestle because I wanted a larger radius turn, and Dale is a member of our club who helped me build the jigs and get me started with the trestle.
Well, that's great. And the way that your train runs, I noticed like right here, it's stopped, and then other trains will go. What is the mechanism that causes that to work?
There are magnets underneath each engine, and inside the track are little reed switches. And when the engine runs over a reed switch, it makes contact and either causes a signal to turn green, or even up here, a little switch that'll change.
And that causes them to stop and
Right,
then go
stop
ahead
or
and
go. Now, as the train comes down around this hill here, as it gets past that signal, there's two switches. One will turn that signal red, and the other one will turn this one green.
Okay.
So
Now,
here it goes. There you go.
oh, yep, this one started up here. And the system that you have, this is, of course, outdoors. And how do you keep all your controls and switchers from getting weathered?
They will weather, but there's some maintenance you have to do. Usually every spring I'll take them apart and oil them up a little bit. And the track I'll have to get out and clean by hand definitely the first time of the year. This engine, this yellow engine here in the station, also doubles as a track cleaning engine.
Okay,
And it'll clean the track, but it moves a lot slower.
right. Now the cars behind this are different. What type of a train is this?
This is all the coal cars. When LGB first came out, they produced the red OEGs, and then they produced a little different lettering on the next one. They went to a gray car, and then they outsourced one. Then they changed a lot of the coupling mechanisms in the orange ones, and they changed the numbering system on it. And then they also went to the gray and changed the numbering system on that one too.
Okay. Now your box over here, I want to show this off to everybody because this is really neat. What is enclosed in here?
Enclosed in here are my transformers. And I just finished putting this together actually. Here I have my transformers, the jumbo transformers, an LGB product. puts out 10 amps and powers the trains and the track.
Okay.
And over here I use a smaller 2-amp transformer that runs all the signals and the lights.
Okay. And then you've got your power also up here in the box. And it just runs then out the back and
runs down to the other end of the garden where I have my pond for the
Okay.
pump.
now it's actually encased in
I put the plastic conduit in.
Okay. That really makes it nice. It makes it very weatherproof that way, doesn't it?
And I don't have to worry about hitting it if I dig in the garden.
That's good. Now, will you actually take these in then during the winter time?
During the winter I'll take them in.
Okay. And now as the train comes around, I keep hearing animal noises as well. What am I hearing?
Actually, it's on the freight train that goes through the tunnel right now. It has a sheep car in it. It has
Okay.
little sheep in it, so that's noises from the sheep car.
Well, that is really great. Now, we're talking today about G-scale trains, and I think maybe our viewers might like a little lesson on what exactly that means. You've got a setup
I've got
here?
a little setup here that you
Okay.
can look at. Probably the most common train that people are used to is the HO scale. And that's what this one is here, and that's one I've had for a number of years. And then the next one is line L, which is known as an O scale. And then this is the G scale version of the same engine.
And so that's the size that we're looking at today in the gardens
Right.
and stuff. So that's quite a difference in scale here. These two would be more the indoor trains then?
Right, and a lot of people probably have a lot of these setups and even the smaller N and Z scale.
Now, is the G scale traditionally meant for outdoors, or is it
That's
just...
what it's normally been running at. There's also like a number 1 scale, but
Uh-huh.
the G scale is always usually run outdoors. The
Right.
track holds up, it's a good brass and it won't rust.
So that makes it nice. You can combine both gardening and your train hobby.
Right, and that's what
Okay.
we've done. Jenny does a lot of things with the plants, so it works out really well.
Well, Ron and Jenny, this is a really neat hobby that you all have, and we appreciate you sharing it with us, and I'm sure people will get some great ideas. You might even get some more railroad gardeners out of this.
That's true.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming by.
Well, now we're back in Tulsa, and we're at the home of Fred and Marilyn Allen. Fred and Marilyn, thank you so much for letting us come over.
We're so glad that
You're welcome.
So, now you have, this is kind of a group project here. You have modeled this railroad after an actual real railroad. Is that correct?
That's right. It is modeled after the Uintah Railroad, which ran from Mack, Colorado to Watson, Utah, back from 1904 to 1939.
Okay, well, this is really neat the way you've got it set up, and I guess, Fred, you're in charge of the railroad
I'm
setup.
the train man. Marilyn,
And I'm the gardener.
Okay, well, we're going to get a tour of both, and so, Fred, if you'll show us the railroad, we'll come back and get the
Okay.
plant tour
Great.
in a minute.
all right. Brenda, as I told you, this railroad ran from 1904 to 1939. Its main purpose was to carry gilsonite out of the Uintah Basin, which crossed Baxter Pass at 8,500 feet. It was the last narrow gauge railroad built in the country, and it was one of the steepest and one of the crookedest railroads built. The Uintah had 7.5% grades, and curves of up to 66-degree curves. So it was pretty unique. It took a lot of engine power to pull these heavy loads of gilsonite up the mountains and around those curves.
Okay. Now, this is actually, what part of the United States would we be looking at here?
Well, since my wife is from Oregon, we've created an Oregon side. It's a little greener. Actually, the Uintah was in what we would call the high desert. But this with the vegetation that you see here represents Oregon. We have the sawmills, we've got the evergreen trees, et cetera, et cetera. Marilyn will tell you about those later on. But you see a lot of moose, and you see bears,
Right.
and deer, elk, lumberjacks, hikers, so forth.
Well, let's go on around here,
All
and
right.
you've got, basically, you've got your town here, which is a lot. There's a lot of stuff here.
We have constructed what, again, we've taken some liberties, but it represents a town, from the 20s to the 40s.
Now, do these people, does this all stay out here all winter long, or do you bring it all in?
We typically will bring the buildings in the wintertime, and the metal cars will come in if we're not playing with them, because if they get wet, they will rust. But most of this stuff is made to resist weather. The railroad itself stays out, and you can get out here and run the train in the snow if you chose to, if the tracks were clear. And it's all weather. The Black Dragon mine here that you see is a replica of what a gilsonite mine looked like. It's a hydrocarbon. It grows in notches, vertical seams. And if you flew across that country low today, you could still see the gilsonite coming up, or the seams coming up out of the ground. But this is exactly what that mine looked like.
I know there's one last thing that I wanted you to talk about, your tunnel over here.
The tunnel, it's really kind of a mock tunnel. It's not what it appears to be. What I've done in the back is I've taken some 2x6s and I have graduated or graded them down to help get that track off that height down to this level.
Okay.
And then I've taken some flexible drain conduit, the plastic black flexible, and I've used it as a hood. Actually, that tunnel, the train will go behind the bush there, and it looks like it's gone into a tunnel, but the tunnel is only about 24 inches long total. The rest of it is a downgrade with that flexible drain pipe over it. And that's the thing about it is, if something gets jammed up in there, I can get to it.
Okay.
They say you never want to make a tunnel longer than your arm can reach, and that's because you get all kinds of critters and
That's
so
true.
forth in there. And that's always where the train runs off the track.
It's in the tunnel.
That's right.
So, okay. Well, it makes it nice because you can actually, from this end, it looks like it goes in and disappears into the tunnel.
Right. And it looked good coming out there, right there.
Now the plants are pretty much taken care of by Marilyn, and Marilyn, you've done a really nice job of incorporating them into the whole railroad setting, and you've got some pretty common stuff, and then you've got some unusual things in here too.
Yes, we do. We look for things here locally and find a lot of stuff, and when we're on vacation, we look at nurseries and we'll bring home anything that looks small enough and doesn't say it grows to be 2 feet.
Okay, so 2 feet and under is what you're looking for.
Yes.
And then as far as things growing here, you test them and see how they do?
I keep a list. If they don't make it, then I don't buy them again.
Good idea. Now, some of the things you've got here, you've got the Santa Lena, I think, here, but you've trimmed it up to look like a tree.
Yes, it makes a very nice tree, and I don't think I can kill it. I just keep chopping away at it, and it comes out and makes a pretty nice shade tree.
So, well, it looks really nice. It's a great scale for this. You've also got some other things here that are pretty common. What type of boxwood is this?
That's a kingswood, and it will only get to be about 8 inches tall at its maturity.
Okay. And then you've also got one of the little hollies here.
The one little hollies, and it doesn't need a lot of trimming, so it's good here.
Okay. Now, over here on this side, this tree is so cute. It's just a small little elm tree. What is that?
That is a Hokkaido elm, and it won't get real tall, but its trunk gets thicker and corkier, so it looks like a mature tree. This one is 3 years old.
Okay, so it has overwintered here then too. And the other one that I just think is gorgeous, it's actually blooming right now. What is that over there?
That is a miniature pomegranate. I don't remember its full name, but it has wintered here for 2 winters.
Oh, really? So it has gone ahead, and it's
Yes.
nice. It gets you some bloom this time
Right.
of year. Now, you said you find some of these locally, some on vacation. Do you order some of these as well?
Yes, I have found a miniature plant nursery called Siskiyou Nursery out of Oregon that I ordered some plants from.
Okay. Well, we've used them as well. They have great plants for small occasions like this, you know, where you're trying to do miniature things. It's great. And Marilyn and Fred, we appreciate you so much sharing your garden with us, and we'll have to come back and
We're
see
so
how
glad
it's
that you wanted to come.
We're
Thank
pleased
you.
to show it off.
Well, our last stop today is at the home of Ken Gleba and Vic Fry. Ken
Good evening.
and Vic, thank you very much for inviting us over.
Well, welcome.
Thanks. And you viewers might think this looks a little bit familiar, and there's a reason for that. Oklahoma Gardening was actually here, it's probably been about 8 years now, hasn't it?
That is correct, yes.
So, but you've got the same track layout, but a lot of things have changed since then, haven't they?
The landscaping is completely different since the last time you were here. We've added a water feature and several mountains and lots of outdoor lighting, accent lighting rather than spotlights.
So now the setup that we're looking at is based on a European model, is that correct?
That is correct. We've used Germany and Austria as our theme. No particular area as far as a complete prototype, but we have used the European theme as our basis.
Okay, and so you use that kind of design theme when you're choosing not only the train, but also all of the other accessories that you've got here, is that correct?
Right, yes. We've
Okay.
used the automobiles, the farm equipment, everything that I can find that's a European automobile or feature, we have used it. However, there are, if you look real close, you'll find two American motor vehicles, an Airstream trailer, which is on our farm, and there is a Ford convertible out here too, if you might find that.
Okay, we'll have to find those later. Now, one of the other things and why we waited so late to tape at your house is that you have actual lighting worked into your design here. And how does that work?
Well, we started out with just street lights in the South Village around the roadbed. And then as we started bringing our construction down this way with the waterfalls and the mountain and the canyon, we wanted something to accent that without having spotlights hanging from the trees. And we tried some of the little lights that you see here, and without your big floodlights, when they are on, they look perfect accent to it, and it illuminates the mountains or the farm, the waterfall, just enough as though you would see something in a regular live environment.
Right, so you basically, like it would be at night if you were
Right.
walking around in it.
That is correct.
Now, you not only have that lit, but also the train has light in it as well.
Oh yeah, all the passenger coaches have lights in it. All the buildings are lit with outdoor Malibu low voltage lighting. And I'm told that these street lights and pole lights can be lit with the Malibu. However, I have not tried it yet. Save that for a later day.
It's always a work in progress, isn't it?
Oh yes, yes. We've been, the actual track has been down since 1988. There went a year or two where it was kind of just bare dirt and the tracks and some very nice automobiles and buildings, but no roads. We then redid some of it, and this last summer and this summer that just passed, we've redone about 80% of it. And with another patch on the far north end that we're planning to redo next summer.
So now the trains, of course, this is set up for the model trains, but the accessories are a big part of this. You all have spent a lot of time with the accessories that you've put in here, cars and things like that. Where do you find those?
Well, most of the automobiles are from a corporation called Franklin Mint. They make a 125 scale automobile, which is in reality slightly smaller than the train, but it's so negligible that you don't notice it. And the people that come with the train fit perfectly with these automobiles, and they look great. The rest of the stuff is kits and things that we have purchased around the country and locally to accent off various highlights.
So, well, they fit in very nicely.
Thank you.
And what you've got here basically starts out down here, and you've got an area, kind of like a little community down here on the end, haven't you?
Right, the far south end has the beer garden, the streets, the owner of the beer, or correction, not the beer garden, but the beer factory, the small train station, and then we come through the canyon, which goes through the tunnel with the waterfall over it, down here to the cheese farm.
This is a great farm here. I
And
like
now
Brenda.
most of the most of the land vehicles here are not pre-made pieces, die-cast cars. They are kits, with the exception of the Jeep, which I looked all over to put a Jeep in my farm and ended up finding it in London, England,
wow.
rather than in the United States to find a Jeep.
Great.
The farm is getting bigger as we progress through next spring when the begonias will be gone, we'll be adding a greenhouse in there. That is a new kit that has just been put out by the Polar Corporation.
Great. And I also noticed you've got it looks like streetcar wires here. Is that correct?
Yes, they will run the streetcar when the entire layout is completed. They will be run off the overhead cannery system. However, in the far corner behind me, we have not quite completed construction, so those wires are not operational at this time.
Okay. Well, we'll just have to come back and see it again then.
You're more than welcome.
So, and we really appreciate this, Ken. And we also appreciate the Tulsa Garden Railroad Club. You happen to be the president of the club.
This year, that is correct, yes.
Great. And they have gone through a lot of work to get things set up for us today, and we really, really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Welcome. Come back anytime.
We hope you've enjoyed this classic from the Oklahoma Gardening Vault. Remember, even though these tips and techniques are timeless, there's always something new to learn in the world of gardening. By subscribing to both Oklahoma Gardening and OK Gardening Classics, you'll have access to a wealth of gardening knowledge, both classic and contemporary.